So, friends, good morning. I hope you all are fine. So, this is BA Part 3rd English Literature class, and we are taking the paper 1, that is Poetry and Drama. So, from yesterday, we have started giving a sort of brief introduction of Victorian literature. So, friends, Victorian literature, as I was discussing with you yesterday, that how there were major chief features of this literature. So, friends, uh, before I come to the prescribed poems, or to the novel, or to plays, it is very much important for us to have a complete overview of Victorian literature or of Victorian age. Right? Now, yesterday we discussed that the long reign of Queen Victoria, which spanned from 1837 to 1901, saw numerous developments that shaped the culture and society of time, many of which were patterned through contradictory structures. The word Victorian, at least as one used to describe the developments of the major part of the 19th century, is not problem free. This is, friends, this is one of the era of literature. This is one of the era of society and civilization which was highly problem oriented from the paradigm of science and religion. It was the time of the conflict. It was the time of the dilemma. Neither nation nor individual were having a sort of smooth time. But it is convenient and to a great extent accommodative of the cultural and social formation of the time of Queen Victoria's reign. So, time and again, we emphasize the reign of Queen Victoria. So, first of all, you have to associate the entire school with the reign of Queen Victoria. It is a historical, label which is attached. Although technically the Victorian period starts with the accession of Queen to the throne in 1837, the cultural manifestations peculiar to the age start manifesting themselves more directly from 1850s. Yes, the cultural perspectives come into the air from 1850s. Though Queen Victoria occupies the throne in 1837. It is imperative, however, to acknowledge that such divisions are provisional, in that the movement from one social condition to another is a gradual process, and the factors impinging upon them are quite diverse. This fact we have to keep in our mind, that no change in society, no change in the realm of social sciences never comes suddenly. They come slowly, gradually. That's why this is important to note that the so called Victorian era, which starts from 1837, does not start exactly from 1837. As far as the features of this era are important, are concerned, they get reflected from 1850s onwards. Right? Take the case of Darwinism. Although Darwin's name has been very significant in 19th century Europe, and his publication of The Origin of the Species shook the entire faith of people to which side they are supposed to go, whether they should keep on believing, keep on having faith, keep on having staunch faith in the existence of God or in the biblical interpretations of the universe, or they should keep on, changing their path, since it is not religion, it is not scripture, it is not the biblical version responsible for the creation of the universe. Rather, it is a constant evolution of nature, of civilization, of culture, responsible for the existence of man and mankind over this earth. This is the origin of the species. This is the main crux of the species, that this world has been a continuous process. The creation, the evolution are a sort of continuous process, right? They are not the progeny of some supernatural power, they are not the progeny of some mystical and spiritual power. So the reference of Darwin has very important in 19th century Europe. So friends, 19th century Europe is a disturbing era, since there were conflicts on the ground of religion, conflicts on the ground of culture, on the ground of society, polity, right? And it was an age of power also. I will come to this paradigm later on, the age of power. This you can also call it as age of power, since it was the beginning of the colonial rule, right? So take the case of Darwinism. Although Darwin's book was not published until 1859, the circulation of ideas relating to evolution created the platform for the articulation of the faith doubt structure much earlier. The ideas of civilizational progress, programmed through the agency of imperialism, were working towards the establishment of order in an age when the ferments in the social and cultural spheres were challenging it. Two important developments characterize the condition of Victorianism. There are two major characteristic features which exist in the Victorian era. First of all, it is the Industrial Revolution, and second Darwinism. Industrial Revolution was that particular feature which had its great impact on civilization, on economy, on culture, on society. The large scale production with the help of man and machine, the huge production of goods, and when there were the huge production of goods and services, then there was felt a need of the market, there was felt the need of labor, right? So all these things go hand in hand, and later on it became a major trouble for humanity, because on the one hand a class emerged which was very rich, resourceful and privileged, and a class emerged which was less privileged, less resourceful. The process of urbanization took place. The masses started fleeing from the villages, from the rural areas, and they came to settle down in urban cities and centers. So these were the major features of industrial revolution. And the second most utmost the second important feature perspective or paradigm was Darwinism. The Industrial Revolution may have started in an earlier epoch, but its impact was most visibly felt and realized only in the Victorian age. Right? Mechanization and growing industrialism speeded up life considerably in the Victorian age. It affected human relations. Yes. What were the impacts of machine on man? What was the impact of industrialization on civilization? To what extent it affected man on earth? Firstly, it affected human relations. Man started viewing himself as a tool of earning money and profits, right? So he started ignoring relations. There came a time in civilization when he thought that to catch hold of resources is one of his duties, right? So it affected human relations, the professions, and created new opportunities for the working classes. And what were the positive aspects? It created avenues for employment. It created new avenues for different sectors of economy, while at the same time enhancing the north-south divide. It enhanced the divide between North England and South England, right? Quite perceptibly, important social and cultural structures were introduced because the existing formats were rendered inadequate by the culture of industry. Take the case of English studies. In the 19th century, the idea of a national literature was reoriented and newly visioned to engage the cultural requirements of the working class. This was the new paradigm, that a new literature, a new national literature was reoriented and newly visioned to engage the cultural requirements of the working class. Right? Uh, if one of the celebrated characteristics of the Victorian age has been the conflict between faith and doubt, this is very important. This is your point of consideration. What were the major characteristic features of the Victorian age? It has been the conflict between faith and doubt. Conflict between faith and doubt. Faith in Bible, in the biblical version of the creation of this universe, or faith in the existence of God. All such things are propagated and expounded on behalf of religion, and religion was that entity, religion was that part of life which was holding man since time immemorial. So, the conflict between faith and doubt, industrial growth and Darwinism were equally potent factors in social and cultural life. Right? Darwinism conditioned the Victorian public to respond to a culture of polemics and inaugurated one of the important dualities, that of science and religion. The theory of Darwinism motivated man to be polemic, right? To respond to a culture of polemics, and inaugurated one of the important dualities, right? It motivated man to get concerned with the duality of science and religion. This is very important, which persisted throughout the 19th century, right? On the one hand, Darwinism fostered the charm of science amongst man and mankind. People started looking at the things from the prism of science, from the prism of rationality, since all such things are not welcomed on the platform of religion. Okay, friends, now it's time over.